Critical EDH, where we believe that the Pirates Code is actually more of a set of guidelines than an actual code. I'm Eric, and I'm here with...
I'm Logan.
And we are keeping tabs on cEDH.
It's Tuesday for us.
Yeah.
But, it'll be Wednesday morning for you guys.
Yeah, we are in real time inventing time travel.
Much like probably Tacer.
Yeah, dude, when I heard this space stuff was going to be coming, I did not think that Space Pirates was going to be on the docket, but I am so glad. Did you ever watch Treasure Planet?
They had to do something.
I wasn't quite sure what direction they were going to take it in.
Yeah.
It's just I love space. I love pirates. I think I love this Planeswalker. It doesn't seem...
I wasn't super convinced, and then you started being like, well, you could do this and you can do that. Do you want to read what he does?
Yeah. So jumping into it, legendary Planeswalker type Tezzeret. Tezzeret, the cruel captain. So when ever an artifact you control enters, you put a loyalty counter on him. Oh, hang on.
Is this actually how you evaluate cards? You don't read the name and then the mana cost and then...
No, I literally skip right to the text.
Okay. Okay. Let me read the card.
Yeah.
Tezzeret, cruel captain. 3 generic is the cost. He's a legendary planeswalker. He's Tezzeret. We know that. He has a static ability that says whenever an artifact you control enters, put a loyalty counter on Tezzeret. He has a 0 ability that says untap target artifact or creature. If it's an artifact creature, put a +1/+1 counter on it. Probably don't care about that.
Yeah.
-3, search your library for an artifact card with mana value 1 or less, reveal it, put it into your hand, and then shuffle. Kind of like Urza's Saga, but to hand instead.
To hand instead, which is good and bad.
And then -7, you get an emblem with at the beginning of combat on your turn, put 3 +1/+1 counters on target artifact you control. If it's not a creature, it becomes a 0/0 robot artifact creature. And he has 4 loyalty to start with.
4 loyalty to start with. My first initial observation is that the ultimate per se is not super useful. You could maybe do some random Aetherflux stuff where you turn it into a creature and give it lifesteal. But I think what I'm more interested in is one, this is another kind of key effect, voltaic key, manifold key. It lets you untap your One Ring and stuff. And then also if you have Kitten out, you can chain basically get all of the rocks from your library. That aren't already in play or in the graveyard. So it definitely seems like it has some utility. I am very interested. I think this is going to go really, really well in a couple decks. I don't know if this is going to break the Blue Farm Rogthras ceiling.
I think this card specifically was designed for our friend Tyler.
Oh, man. Oh, yes.
And for those of our audience that don't know Tyler, what deck does Tyler play?
Oh, I believe you're referring to Tyler Daxon, who plays exclusively Arkham
Lindblad.
Yeah, he plays a little bit of Rogthras, but I think one of the things I love about it is it's a mono blue deck. It essentially has a pod effect in the command zone where you sacrifice an artifact creature, and then you can basically go get any artifact. And then it gets to do all sorts of crazy chains.
The neat thing about this is it says untap target artifact or creature. And it also can search your library for artifact creatures if you don't have any.
Oh, yeah.
And then it can also just turn something into an artifact creature every turn, which I doubt that would ever happen.
Oh, no. I think that there's probably that deck I think is super duper right for breaking this. I can see Urza, the mono blue Urza, doing pretty well with this.
Well, actually, the other thing about this, Arkham Daxon is 2 and 2 blue, right?
I think it's 2 and a blue.
He's not 3.
Not 3, he's 4.
I think he's 4.
Honestly, I just assume he's always getting cast on turn 2, and I don't pay attention to how it happens.
I know that turn 1 Arkham Daxon is more rare than a turn 1 Rhystic Study, but I know that I'm pretty sure it's 4. So I think it's 2 and 2 blue.
Okay.
I'm sure that someone will correct us if we're wrong, but the cool thing about this is that it's 3. So if I'm correct in saying that it's 4 mana cost for Arkham, it kind of curves naturally into Arkham. So that's cool.
And it's also super nice because you pay 3, you -1, you go get a Mana Vault, right? Or you can, tap your Mana Vault, cast this, and then activate its 0 cost loyalty ability to untap your Mana Vault. It seems like it's a very... I put this in kind of Sensei's Divining Top, kind of twiddle territory, where it gives you a lot of options to do a lot of little things. maybe there's a world where the -7 is like way more broken than I think it is. I don't know if that's the world we live in, but I am sure there's some Liberator fans out there that are going to go to town with this, and I cannot wait to hear about it.
I do think that obscure artifact decks are going to at least test this card, if not enjoy playing it.
Yeah, it seems like it does everything you want. Yeah.
Anyway, so that's the opening segment for our show today. We do need to move on to a couple housekeeping items. First of all,
pool priority. Yeah, it's the no, it's not being hosted by Game Nights. It's being hosted at Game Night in Tennessee. $50 buy-in, but first place gets to take home a foil Judge Gaia's Cradle. If you are within like 100-mile radius, you need to be entering into this tournament. It's also part of the Land Go series. So if you're interested in being a part of their summer circuit, that's a great way. And then also it's just, it's going to be, dawn till dusk, a one-day tournament. And I think I have a special place in my heart for tournaments that you can just show up at like the crack of dawn, 10 a.m. It's the crack of dawn somewhere. And then you just play. And I think they literally put in here that the event closes when the store closes.
It's July 12th at 10 in Columbia, Tennessee. And like Eric said, there's really, really good prizing, especially for a gold event. So first place is a Judge Foil Gaia's Cradle. Second through fourth is a revised Volcanic Island. I would kill for one of those.
Yeah, I think it's also kind of like on theme too.
That is cool. And then $50 store credit for the rest.
I love when they do that.
End of event. Store closes.
I super excited. I don't think we're going to be going to this, but we know some people do. If you are planning on going, let us know.
Yeah, we might put a event meetup thing in our Discord, like we kind of normally do for this stuff.
Absolutely.
And then specifically about the date, what's kind of around this date? Do you know?
I'm thinking Eagles, fireworks.
No, that's before. I'm talking about after.
Aren't we also coming up on no more points after this?
Yeah.
Is this the last event you can go to get points?
It's not the last, but it might as well be. If you're going to this, I don't know. You might have like one more weekend event.
Yeah.
I think the event points close at Sunday the 20th.
TikTok.
So if you're looking to get those last minute Top Deck Championship points, this is a good way to do it.
Yeah, if you're ranked 65th, first off, I'm sorry. Second off, you really need to go to this.
Yeah, that's right. Well, thanks to Game Night for sponsoring this.
Yeah.
And speaking of other things going on, our league for this month is kind of in full swing.
Yeah.
We closed signups yesterday. So if you didn't sign up for this month, that's okay. We'll have next month's signups on the first of the month. We do that every single month. The idea, someone was asking me like, well, I don't understand. Why aren't the signups open for next month yet? I said, because we did that last month and people got really confused about like what league they're playing in. Yeah. And so what we're going to do is just open up July's signups on the 1st. And then the reason we run signups so late is that if you are just now hearing about the league, it's a good way to just like kind of dip your toes in the water, try it out, see what it's like for a week, and then you can decide to really jump into the next one.
We've been continuing to enjoy having the Japanese point structure work for this because it incentivizes people to play and it introduces a comeback mechanic where if we were doing a traditional, you kind of like if you win a game, you get a point. If you lose a game, you lose a point. That you might end up in a situation where you have to win like 15 games in a row. Yeah. As opposed to this, if you're consistently like grinding, you're kind of always 1, 2, 3 games away from being right back in it.
That was one of the questions we got was, well, I'm going to be so behind on points. I'm like, well, not really. You start with 1,000 and you start taking percentages of people's points that they're playing. So
yeah, if you like take down someone in the top 4, not only are your points going up, but their points are going down. So far, it seems to be working really well for our online league.
I don't really know any other leagues that are doing this.
Yeah.
So
definitely. It's always cool to see people like literally every time I go into our Discord, there's games firing off. And so thank you for all the players who are always there. I know we've got some like a myriad of like time zones and people playing in different places. And so I'm really grateful that whenever I'm looking for a game, it seems like I never have to wait long to jump in and grab a lobby.
That, and we have 114 players in the league this month.
Yeah.
With over almost 100 of them having played at least one game. I just changed it so that it's only reporting if you played 5 games or more, which is the requirement for the month. And we're at like 70. So there's a really high amount of people that are playing like a lot of games in the league.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, people are firing games all the time. That number is only going to go up as we add more and more people to the league. We've already added 35 more than last month.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And I'm calling you guys out. If you're watching this video, it's a Tuesday night for me, but I'm working from home tomorrow, and I am one lazy son of a bitch. So I'm going to be looking for games all day tomorrow. So if you're watching, pause the video, hop in, see if I'm out there.
Especially now that Combat's done, we can devote a little bit more time to play in the league.
But it's just always fun jamming games with people. So
hey, you see who's at the top?
Oh heck yeah!
Actually, who's not at the
top? We did it,
Chad. We did it.
But yeah, thanks for everyone for making this happen.
Don't forget, the prize this month is a gold saber-tooth commission. And that is a really, really special prize, and we thank him a lot for putting that up. And then next month, we haven't quite figured out what we're doing yet, but I have some ideas, so we'll keep working on it. Local events for us, we have a 1K coming up this Saturday.
Yeah, I am so excited. I can't remember the last time me and you just got to like play at an event. We're not like casting, we're not organizing, we're not like doing like a mix of the two. I think we're literally just gonna wake up, submit our deck list, and then show up and play.
I kind of want to record. I don't know. I've been enjoying doing
You're addicted, man.
Content grind can't stop.
I'm super excited. It's if we get to 48 players, it'll be Mox Diamond, I think.
Yeah. This one's for the junkies. That's really funny. I wonder who wrote that. I wonder if Jeff or his wife wrote that. That wasn't me. This feels like a return to sort of normalcy for you and me, where we've just been at all these different large events and traveling and going here and there and back and forth and planning events.
It's been
stuff.
a crazy couple months, and I am so grateful for all the things that we got to do. But also,
absolutely,
I'm super excited just to kind of like, I don't know, just like jam some games with the boys. I have yet to take down an EG tournament, and that is definitely on my bucket list for 2025.
I've taken down some weird EG tournaments.
You took down the Fringe Fest.
Yeah.
Yidris!
I played Yidris, and all of the like meta commanders were banned, so that was pretty fun.
Yeah. But I think I'm really looking forward to it. This is another one of those, you show up at 10 and you just play until you're done. I think we tend to be around like the 40 plus ish, which I think is also kind of nice. You get to see a little bit of everything.
Not quite a gold event, but also like not a bronze event either. It's some might call it silver. But we'll talk a little bit later about decks that we're thinking about playing in this tournament, because we just want to talk about them. We're like excited to talk about them. So
one of the reasons we consistently bring this up though is like Enchanted Grounds was not hosting tournaments on a semi-monthly basis like a year ago. Like
a year ago they were, because that's when I hosted the first one.
That's right when we started.
Yeah,
and,
it was like June 23rd, I think.
And then they said like, oh, we're gonna start doing these monthly, and then I think the next one was in October. But I think
but then I mean I think this is part of like developing the local scene and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And Jeff has really come around to saying like, hey, not only is this good for the store, but it's good for the community. It's good for, like, we have a good group of people that attend these, and he's also bringing in new fresh faces and stuff.
Yeah.
People are coming down from like Fort Collins, which is about like an hour and a half from here.
Coming from the
people
Springs.
Are coming up from the Springs, about an hour south from here. From Greeley and like in the mountains
all
and stuff.
Over. Yeah.
I don't think we've had like someone travel in for a tournament yet, but who knows? I mean, like we had people do that for Combat, so like but these local tournaments are a really good way, even if you're a very seasoned player, to sort of get that small town sort of like Swiss feel. And
it's nice.
They kind of never know what to expect.
They keep you fresh. They keep you on your toes. Yeah. And also they keep the scene going. And so I think I am so glad to see the way that the cEDH scene has kind of grown in like Colorado and Denver, and I'm so thankful because it's not just one store or one player, but it's just the whole. It seems like the whole city has kind of like come together to help make these. And so I definitely hope that like if you are in a scene and you're like there's no cEDH, start with getting connected with an LGS, even if it's just firing off like 16 people and the pricing is all like store credit and you cut to top 4 or something. If you can just get that ball rolling, it may take a while and it may not take the shape you expect it to. But yeah, very, very, very privileged to be able to routinely be able to like attend a silver event right in our backyard.
I think there's I did want to check. Yep, there is a level 7 event coming up.
Oh, heck yeah. Last chance.
So that's what we're talking about. These last chance events. We're nearing. I mean, it's just like a couple weeks away, guys.
It's yeah.
I don't know what the competition was like last season to get points at the last minute for the Invitational, but I know that a lot of people are feeling pressure to sort of either shit or get off the pot. You're either going to make the MV or you're not.
Yeah, there is. So in 2 weeks, I went from 86th to like 130th, 140th.
Oh, wow. That's a lot of people that are vying for.
Yeah. There's this kind of like 50, 80 point bubble. And
you can still make it.
Yeah. If like me and a lot of people out there are like one tournament away from being like right back. And so I think it's fun. It gives like a nice energy to stuff. I think I like that it helps keep the competitive nature of it all.
Yeah.
That we're not in a format where like there is a 2,000 point deficit between like 64th and 65th.
Right.
So I like that.
This tournament is going to be at their new location that's opening up.
Yeah.
And that's pretty close to us.
Yeah, I'm super excited. Huge shout out to Level 7. They are a great local store.
I think there's going to be a gold event.
I think they're hoping it'll be.
Yeah, 64 players, so it'll be gold.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, those are our local events going on. And then, do you want to read this comment?
Oh, absolutely. This comment is from a Budget Pub Stomper. And they say, what do we think about a Wrongside build of Malcolm Kedis? I play the deck a bit, and it's legitimately insane how much mana it vomits into play. It could just be better to use the highly synergistic pieces already in the list, but I do think I'll be revisiting the list to see if I can squeeze a couple more engines in. Then you jump in and you make the comment, it's probably okay, but without access to black, you're not going to be able to tutor Ristic reliably. Something that I just thought when I was looking at this list, though, is I love the idea of Wrongside. It seems to really have taken root in a fun way. And you were talking in the last episode.
For some people, it has.
Yeah. Support us and you will not be punished. But you talked about being kind of inspired by Freedom Waffle's No Bad Cards list.
Mm-hmm.
In the idea of taking this list that has kind of always been seen a certain way and just kind of tweaking it a little bit and, removing like maybe a Kenan card here or like Necro Dominance there.
A crop rotation there.
And then kind of like streamlining it and making it this kind of like mid-range tank that still can go fast, but it's really able to just like you trade some of the like flashy fun cards for like cards that are more just like, I don't want to say like generically good, but they are more adaptable and flexible within a mid-range archetype.
Yeah, so the concept of fun as cEDH players is interesting. Because like there are cards that are no doubt fun because you're like, wow, I get to do this really unique thing.
Yeah,
it puts me ahead of my opponents or it gives me some sort of advantage. My opponents weren't expecting that. I have a brewer's advantage or something like that. That's cool.
World Gorger Dragon. Yeah.
Sure, like there's fun stuff, but you know what's really fun? Winning the game.
Dude, winning the game rules.
And like, yeah, it's not always fun to just like turbo out a win and be done with it, but like when you're winning tournaments and you're vying to be like one of the best players in the world, you kind of have to discover strategies that would put you more in that, more in that bucket than in I'm having fun playing lowercase cEDH.
So
and like this is not to disparage anyone or how they like want to play the game or the format or anything like that, but when you're looking at these strategies, especially like like Wrongside, I think while I find enjoyment with it, I think it's legitimately good.
Yeah.
And I've had a lot of tournament success with it. Other people like Jason and Jax have also had, and Ty Ohio have had really good tournament success with it, and they're still playing it. So, I mean, there's something there, right? The archetype or the style of deck building is there. And you're right. People are picking up on it and saying, well, what other decks can I adapt this to? It's kind of interesting.
So this person is specifically asking about Malcolm Kedis, but do you feel like there's like a wrong Tibna, a wrong come? I don't want to say that word again.
Yeah, please don't say that. Can we phrase that differently, please?
I am ashamed of my words and my deeds.
Are you talking about like Malcolm? So in this case, Malcolm Kedis. Malcolm.
I was thinking because I think and I think it's a little bit easier to have a no bad cards Esper than it is to have a no bad cards Is It.
So let me address this deck specifically first. Okay. So Kenan's interesting because Kenan doesn't really have a lot of good enchantment tutors. You're just kind of relying on good cards only, and sometimes your strategy is not the copy Ristic or whatever first. Yeah. Whereas Wrongside is heavily positioned to get the Ristic plan first because you can just tutor for it. You can just find it.
Ton of copy effects too.
And then it also has like good speed to back it up. Whereas the Kenan list, you have a lot of different viable strategies to progress your game plan. It could be Steedborn Muse and One Ring. It could just be, oh my god, I have Kenan and a lot of dorks, and I'm just gonna rip a spin and see if I hit something. It could be a clever impersonator, and then oh no, that's a smothering tithe from someone else. It has these unique tools. Where I was thinking about Malcolm Kedis in my head, I've played the deck, and I played a polymorph version of it. Not quite as intense as the one polymorph target like Shauna plays, where there's only Niv Mizzet, but I was playing like Niv and Glinthorn and basically like WinCon cards as like the polymorph targets, and just like, oh no, I'll figure out something, I'll put it together. But their assessment of the deck does like shit out mana, that is true, but you don't really have those good tutor targets, and then I don't know what the backup plan is, right? There's no like, well, you also have this good plan B.
Yeah, like the SSD con is like a really good plan B. Like, oh, worst case scenario, I guess I'll just like Underworld Breach Brain Freeze.
Well, I mean that's like the win con, but like you like Wrongside doesn't. It has the grind plan as its main thing, and if you fail the grind plan, you have 8 other copies of that grind plan to make it work, or you just force it down people's throats until they're like, okay, I get it. You can have your Ristic study. This I don't think really has that flexibility because it's only in 2 color. Yeah. And then to your point about like Malcolm Timna, I see 3 mana things in the command zone which overlap with Ristic study, copy enchantment, mirror maid, and that kind of makes things a little bit awkward. Yeah. Timing wise.
Yeah, I've definitely earlier in my development as a brewer, I would think that I was like, oh, this gives you like a ton of options, because then you can do whichever. Do you need mana? Well, then you play Malcolm. Do you need cards? Then you play Timna. But then having started to play a lot of lists that have
it's actually kind of the opposite, because they like have summoning sickness. Yeah. But not really. Okay. Anyway, it's fine.
But to your point, you end up in this situation where you're trying to always do everything at the same point in time, as opposed to I have 1 or 2 options turn 1, I have 1 or 2 options turn 2. You create this kind of like decision bottleneck, where you kind of always end up making the decision to I will set up for a later turn, and that
I think about that deck specifically as in I've kept Multitude because I've found no lands. My Multitude is Ancient Tomb, Lotus Petal. I go, sick. This is cool. And then maybe this is not a good example, but my draw for turns Ristic study. And I go, well, yeah, I need to play Rhystic Study, but also like I kind of want to play Malcolm because I don't have mana. Because I don't have any colored mana.
Yeah.
And maybe that's a bad example because I think everyone's default answer is I'm going to play Rhystic Study, which is probably correct because card draw represents mana and what everything else. But
yeah, that's an interesting.
But you can also just like you can see how those two cards are kind of like at odds with each other. They're in the same spot.
I think it's a good example of where we can learn from our like siblings in 60 card formats. And I think in those you need to much more aggressively analyze like your mana curve. And so I think that we have so many like tutors and fetches and ramp that we can kind of just build this like amalgam of like good cards, and it's usually like good enough. But I think specifically like something about Esper, you just always want to be casting things that are like 3 mana. And so I think specifically
Ranger Captain,
Ranger Captain,
Timna.
Necropotence,
yeah.
Like there's so many things you want to be doing.
We've even seen our local Malcolm player, Chris Spalding, move from Malcolm Timna to Malcolm Vile.
Dude, he's crushing it.
While those two things are still 3 mana, I highly doubt he's playing Vile Smasher.
I don't know if I've ever seen him cast Vile Smasher, but I do.
Right.
That is a list. You can go back and watch episodes or listen to tournaments that I've casted. I was not super hot on the Grixis Pirates, but I have like seen people play it, and I have to admit, Grixis Pirates pilots, y'all are up to some pretty cool stuff.
Yeah.
That list is pretty cool.
Anyway, to go back to the comment, we appreciate comments like this because it kind of gets us thinking about, like pushing our buttons a little bit and going, maybe there is something there.
Yeah.
I'm definitely not opposed to trying it because maybe it does feel better in practice than it might like smooth out your mulligans and stuff because you have guaranteed mana in the command zone.
I'm also super interested in Budget Pop Stomper. If you've put this list together, I think 2 colors is really hard to do like a no bad cards thing in because I think usually there's kind of not enough good cards in 2 colors,
especially in red right now. Yeah.
So that's another thing I would like to see.
You have like 30 blue counter spells. Like,
yeah. I mean,
maybe.
yeah.
All I'm saying is Shauna's list runs 51 instants or something like that.
Yeah. Dude.
And that's like,
if you haven't got a chance to watch shauna play her list, you owe it to yourself to track down. I know she was she was on her, but I think she's in a couple other stream games. But I think ours was really good because she got to use a couple spells you don't usually see in CEDH, and it was just really cool to see.
Trick Bind here, like a little, Stifle there.
I wasn't ready for it. Like I know it's like, oh, it's Is It Control, and all she does is polymorph and counter spells. But watching it in play, I think it's a great example.
There's a lot more to it than
so much more to it. Very, very cool to watch. But yeah, if you end up putting it together, Pub Stomper, we would love to see it.
Speaking of is it
good?
Okay.
Is it
I know you haven't been playing as much.
Yeah.
At least in the past like week or 2 maybe. Have you seen it at all?
Haven't seen it at all.
I've seen it a bunch.
Yeah.
It's very, very explosive. If you don't have a draw engine out before Vivv gets to do anything, you are hosed.
Whoa.
And it definitely puts things in a bit of an interesting perspective because now if I see a Vivv at a table, I'm like, if I can't get a draw engine before they get Vivv and then like get going on top, I need to have a removal spell. And like, because I can't guarantee that nobody else is going to have a removal spell.
Yeah.
But I would say, luckily, a lot of the Vivv lists that I've seen are playing pretty irresponsibly.
It seems like every list I've seen is people doing the deepest, darkest, gnarliest Scryfall surge and putting all sorts of I feel like Vivv is such a strong commander. It is enabling people to play like the opposite of a no bad cards list. And I don't know, maybe that is just the fact that I haven't played against it. But when I see things like Quicksilver Elemental, I think is a big one.
Yeah.
Or like Tandem Lookout, I think is like, I don't know, like there has to be better cards than like.
If you can interact or get rid of Vivv before the Curiosity effect is there, then you're probably fine. I think the biggest weakness to this card is that it dies to Red Blast on the stack.
Oh yeah.
Or on the field. And I'm a big Red Blast enjoyer. So,
dude, Red Blast rules. I'm never ready for it. I'm like, there's no way they have a.
Spirit Guide Red Blast, baby.
They're not going to use a Force of Will on this. I'm safe.
Yeah,
I think having not played it or against it, I think I still really, really like the design of the card. I think the fact that it has 0 power is fun. I think is relatively balanced. The fact that you can only activate it on your turn and once, I think also introduces this fun kind of like will they won't they mechanic into it of you're trying to like bait out the interaction or the activation. I can see how it would be very explosive, and also I think that if you don't like let yourself stray into too deep of like a random card situation, it could be very consistent as well.
I think Vivv is going to push us into an interesting spot of the format where if Dismember wasn't already dead, it probably is now, because unless you time your Dismember exactly correct, it's not killing Vivv.
Get out of here, Dismember.
And then cards like Toxic Deluge are going to be even less valuable because Vivv gets +1/+1 counters, and like I've seen Vivvs have 20 plus on them,
man,
and I'm like, I'm not deluging for like half my life unless I'm really need to.
I also like that it pressures life totals, right? Like if I cast Vivv and then
it does too much.
You think so?
Yeah, I don't think it's ban. I don't know that it's gonna eat a ban or anything, but I think it does a little too much.
I wouldn't be surprised if this ends up being like a Zur kind of situation where as soon as you cast it, you have to go, okay, now guys, hang on a second, or like a Crick situation where you're like, I know we're all thinking it, but let's just wait a second before we kill this guy.
I think there's a very responsible build of Vivv that could exist, but I haven't seen one yet. There's not like a no bad cards Vivv, but I very well feel like there could be.
Yeah, I think that you could do like kind of like a polymorph control thing like Shauna did it, but the thing is Malcolm lets you bank mana for later, and Vivv it has to be on your turn, and so I think that does kind of put it weirdly in like Ral territory where like you're doing everything at instant speed but on your turn, which I think is just like a very interesting dynamic. I am curious to see if this is going to end up in the legion of is it or is it plus decks where one player ends up taking like a 30-minute turn and then passes and the next person like wins immediately.
I've seen that pattern a little bit where they are just like, oh no, I'm going to go for it.
Yeah.
And there's 2 draw engines and we're just like, okay, like if you really want to, and they go for it and they're like, oh, I just wasn't able to get there, or all of a sudden Vivv gets Rollicked and they're like, well, I don't have anything for that, and then you're like, okay, I'm gonna untap with like 35 cards in my hand. Anyway, here's a grand ball. Sure.
Oh! Yeah, I think I can see this card inviting greedy play out of its pilots, and so I think that like the card is very strong. I think it works well with like you cast a Mox Amber and now you just like ping the entire table for you did 3 total damage, and then now you also just generated 2 mana,
3 mana, 2 mana.
Yeah,
okay, yeah, I see what you're saying.
Or just and that's like, and so you're just playing normal Magic, you get to do such strong things, but
right,
also,
with your normal, like if you had a completely normal is it build, the card would be totally fine.
So
it would be good.
I am interested to see if it ends up going the more Ral route, where you just like, and then I will win or lose within 15 minutes. Either way, I have already put in my order for coffee at grass table. Or if it's going to end up being more of this like Hashathon, where whenever you see a Vivv, you have no idea what's in the 99 because it could be fucking anything.
Speaking of our boy Hashathon, have you seen one around?
Who?
Yeah, exactly. So, speaking of the ways of Hashathon, maybe it's just not what everyone thinks it is. Yeah. Although the character is really likable. So I doubt it's going to go anywhere. I doubt it's going away. Let's put it that way.
I think that like even if it ends up not being super strong, I think the card in and of itself reads interesting enough We'll see. I think I highly suspect this is going to be one of those commanders where I just see at least one of them at every tournament for the rest of the year. Maybe like just going forward. We'll see. I'm interested to see it prove itself. Speaking of commanders that we'll see, there's no creature on there. It's just a legendary artifact. How am I supposed to make that my commander?
Yeah, Gavin Verhey announced that they're changing the commander rules to allow for legendary vehicles and spacecraft.
Yeah, I was pretty annoyed that
to be your commander. That is, yeah.
Like they said they weren't going to make big changes, and then they go and do this. Like, come on,
it's not a big change.
They said that they weren't going to change the core pillars of the format, and now I don't even know if this is the same cEDH that I like. Where did my format? Where did it go?
Vehicles in my format? More likely than you might think.
No, the first thing I did was I went to Scryfall, go to the advanced search, see all the legendary artifacts that are
You're
vehicles.
like, ooh, the jackdaw.
I'm like, the jackdaw, maybe. And then I closed the tab and went, this changes nothing.
Yeah, the jackdaw's kind of cool, but you have to like crew it to do anything. That feels bad.
It's literally just like a worse Vivv kind of.
In other news, Shorekai has flavor text now.
Yeah,
additional flavor text.
Yeah, they can remove it. I think I'm interested to see what comes out with like Edge of Eternities, and I think there is some interesting talk to be had of like what other changes are they going to make. Like we have a lot of planeswalkers that can be commanders. Are they just going to pull back the veil on that someday? I don't know.
They made a comment on Twitter about like docking with spaceships, and I was like, oh. They have docking and edging in this set?
Yeah.
Edging to eternity.
Dude, if they add sounding, no need to play any other game. It's
right?
the magic will have it all.
Wow. Really bad formatting on Reddit here.
Yeah, thanks, Reddit.
Why is TNT better than Sans Black at the moment? Not Sam Black.
Yeah, completely different.
Mm-hmm.
I think I had a great time playing a friend's updated Dawnwaker list the other day. Convinced me that I should just build TNT instead.
Black cards are busted, I guess.
Yeah. Universal tutors are pretty good.
Dawnwaker's cool. I mean, having Zerda and just doing the and having Thrasios as an outlet is like that's a totally like a legit strat. I mean, it's
super duper like Zerda on their own in the command zone is crazy.
You can play the Grim Monolith, tap it to put Zerda into your hand. It's kind of cool.
I think it's cool. Why do I think it's not as popular as TNT? I think it comes down to consistency. I think we are brewing in a very different way than we were a year ago. Mm-hmm. And a huge part of it is the lion's share of our attention is focused on our tournament experience.
You say that, but we're about to show off 3 deck lists that are a little weird.
Well, we are probably taking them to tournaments though. So
yeah.
So even if we're not like maybe we're not thinking about the top 4 when we're brewing these lists.
True.
But even when we're playing just for fun, right? Like we're usually playing with a very similar rhythm or cadence that we would in a tournament game. And I think that a huge difference between those is consistency. If I want to like dedicate the time to get really good at a particular list, and I want to spend money and a whole day out of my weekend, and I want to like focus so hard that I have a headache at the end of the day because I've been staring at my hand hoping a counterspell manifests itself. I want to be able to consistently do well in almost every pod, and black is a fantastic color in cEDH to help you do that.
So what's weird about these, let's talk about these 3 4-color decks. Mm-hmm. We have TNT, which is Sans Green. Mm-hmm. We have we have TNK, which is Sans Green. We have TNT, which is Sans Red, and then we have this, which is Sans Black. Mm-hmm. So in TNK, you have red cards, and red is not like the greatest color right now. Mm-hmm. We have Underworld Breach and Flare of Duplication and 3 question marks. I don't know, Ragavan. Like, it's fine.
Red is a fantastic color to also have.
Sure, but you don't need to run a lot of red cards because you have black tutors. Mm-hmm. You can specifically get those red cards, the powerful red ones, when you need them.
Yeah.
You're not like you're not just like hoping, oh god, I just hope I draw Underworld Breach here. It's like no, I have a demonic tutor. I'm just gonna go get it.
I have like 8 different ways of getting it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So then you have TNT, Thrasios Timna, in which you don't run red because you're like, those cards kind of suck.
Yeah.
And you're adding green for like a little bit of consistency and like mana production and dorks and stuff like that.
Because it essentially still functions as universal tutors, because in TNT the vast majority of what you're doing is like creature lines.
Sure.
And so like your Eldritch Evolutions or Neoform
gets a Thassa's.
Right. Yeah.
It's like that's cool.
For the most part, is a universal tutor essentially. Yeah.
So, but you can already see from the way we talk about that deck that we don't think it's quite as good as T and K, right? And then we talk about a list like this where it's Thrasios Bruce, presumably, or Thrasios Akiri, less likely. And then you have Zerda in the special zone, the companion zone. You're like just giving up on black, and like you have Enlightened Tutor to get your breach, I guess, but I don't know. It's just not. It's not as clean.
If I'm paying 5 mana, I would way rather cast a Crom than Bruce.
And then you're also giving up win cons. You're giving up Thassa's decon.
Yeah.
You still have breach, but then you have to rely on things like Fairy Mastermind and maybe Endurance or something like that.
Yeah.
Or Finale, and it's just not quite the same.
Your win cons aren't as clean. Your grind plan isn't as strong.
Your tutors aren't as good.
Yeah. Individual card quality
starts to get questionable.
Yeah. Because like in order to find the good pieces, like you have to like start, now I'm on like, reckless handling or or like you don't necessarily want to be on Green Sun Zenith if you're in 4 colors or there's just all like, you're it is like almost there. I think I played Thrasios Akiri and I definitely I had a lot of fun, but I definitely had the experience of like the deck wanted to be something else, and what it wanted to be was blue farm. At least the way I had it built. I think it's really cool.
What's scarier, blue farm with a Smothering Tithe or Thrasios Akiri with a Smothering Tithe? Like, it's not even close.
You've also got the 4-color Omnath, who could be in this kind of 4-color Sans Black. But
then you have to do weird things with like Displacer Kitten and lands, and it's just not quite there. And like, not to say that they're not viable, because guess what? They're cEDH decks, so they can win games.
Yeah.
If you like playing them, great. That's fine. But if we're talking about at the top levels of tournament and competitive play, you're not going to see them very often.
Yeah, I think we're kind of waiting for someone to kind of crack the code of Sans Black. And I think a huge part of that is because the best win lines you have are just easier to get to if you have black. And that like that comes down to like the color identity of like pillars of how WotC designs cards.
If the game goes longer, these decks are better because then you have more time to assemble what you need. But then also like I don't think they play at flash speed as well.
Yeah.
And like if the game is really short, Blue Farm can pull off those turn 2, turn 3 wins, no problem, right?
People talk about the dominance of like blue with like risk study and counter spells, but the fact that black gives you speed with like Dark Rig, Cabal Ritual, all this stuff, it gives you specificity.
That's a good way to put it.
With the tutors, and then also not only do you have like the win con of like decon or Tainted Pact, but you also have the essentially like Praetor win con or pre-win con of like Adnaz and Necropotence. And so it is giving you viability at all levels of like the cEDH game, as opposed to like red is primarily useful when you're closing out with like Underworld Breach, or maybe here or there with like a red Elemental Blast or Flare of Duplication.
Sure.
They're nice to have, but like you can't like Flare of Duplication isn't.
I don't know that Blue
plan.
Farm's win rate would really change if they didn't have Red Blast.
Yeah.
Like they just slot in like Dispel or something and go on their way. You know, it's not. If Underworld Breach was the only red card, Underworld Breach and Gamble were the only 2 red cards that Blue Farm ran, it'd be fine.
I think we need to see red and white buffed a little bit before Sans Black is able to like go toe to toe.
Yeah,
I think that like
but that just makes farm stronger.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just
yeah. Oh no. Wait, so you know, we've said it multiple times, but just to kind of put a capstone on it, it's not that we don't think it's viable, or that if you're like, check out this 4-color Omnath, and we're gonna be like, well, I mean, choosing to lose is an option. Like, it's definitely viable. Jay had a 4-color Omnath, and it was super fun to play against. But if you're asking the question, why do we think TNT is better than Sans Black at the moment? I think that would be our
and this is the question. Why is it better? Mm-hmm. And that's the answer.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to our next Reddit thread. Holy shit, this is so bad.
Underrated, underrepresented mid-range decks.
Okay, that's a little better. Hopefully you guys can see that. If you can't, oh well.
I'm looking for a mid-range deck to play, but I enjoy playing some underplayed commanders. Never heard that before. I currently have Inala and Ral turbo decks, but need something new. So what decks are super powerful, but not the most common? I'm a big fan of Brewer's Advantage. I enjoy complicated lines of play that reward intimate knowledge of your own deck and unique lines. It's why I love Inala so much, and I don't know if that sort of thing exists in midrange. I don't always want to be playing turbo.
Almost all of the unique win lines exist in midrange, I think. Mm-hmm. Except to, like, maybe Inala doesn't fit into that, maybe Raw doesn't fit into that. But if you talk about like all of the weird, obscure stuff, because you need like multiple pieces and stuff like that, you can't pull those off in turbo unless you're extremely, extremely lucky.
I think that Ral and Inala are novel. I'm not saying they're bad. I'm saying they're novel. Ral gets to run cards that every time you cast it, all three opponents are going to say, hang on, let me read this shit. And Inala, you get to sit down and read like a 20-page primer that is probably going to get you more wins than the Gitrog primer. So it's complicated, but it's also novel and it's interesting. I think Blue Farm, if you play like Tremnick's list, if you play with Jason, you can see that there are a dozen tiny decisions that he's making, and within the first 2 turns he has already formulated a game plan involving information from his opponents that is this kind of like national treasure, right? Like, I'm gonna do it
the
right.
Charlie Day with the string and pins on the map, like
like it, but it's not sexy, right?
No.
If you're playing against you know, our local like
But again, winning games is fun. Winning games is kind of what we're here to do.
You know, when you play like Wrongside, you can go for some very, very convoluted lines, but they're not. No one's having to like stop so that they can read Demonic Tutor. No one's like, oh, I've never seen Underworld Breach before. What's this card? But the complicatedness comes from like playing cleanly, concisely, and quickly,
and knowing your timings, knowing your windows, just deciding when just sit there and not do anything, and then all of a sudden, oh, got the breach in,
got him. Yeah. no one's gonna clap when they see you cast Underworld Breach and then brain freeze.
My God, I've never seen this.
You did it. You're not gonna like make it onto like some top 16.
You might clap when you resolve your first breach, though.
It feels
please
so
clap.
Good. Which is not to like dog on this question asker. It's in fact, I think I very much sympathize with it. The first 3 lists that I proxied were Minsk and Boo, Orvar, and Kalia. And so I was very much I was like, ooh, look at all these like cool random decks that you get to do these wild lines, and they were novel. They were really interesting. You learn it, and then you get bored. You get
bored of losing.
You get bored of losing, or even if you win, like if you're playing Inala, you know, and most people are going to get bored after doing the same thing 5 or 6 times. Or at the very least, your opponents will.
But so to answer the question, these mid-range decks that are like underplayed or have unique strategies, let's say Noctis, for example, while you can just do the fastest decon thing with Noctis because it's an Esper, it has an alternate win con with Aetherflux and like Mox Diamond or Vexing Bauble and like Mox Opal, where you can start to like storm and just cast it over and over again.
Yeah.
start gaining infinite life and then kill people with Aetherflux. So like that's kind of novel, kind of cool.
Yeah.
But that's not a turbo deck. It's a mid-range deck.
I think if I were talking to someone and they were like, I refuse to play something that has like been in the top 16, but I want to play something that could get me there. I think I would say it's hard to go wrong with 5 colors. So you could go with Kenrith. Kenrith is someone we haven't seen a lot of innovation in. I did play against a really, really cool Kenrith list at Fishbowl that was super duper fun. I think Atraxa is also like a fun mid-range thing that you get to play relatively high card quality, but you just don't see a ton of Atraxa, I think, because TNT has kind of eaten its lunch.
Yeah.
So, I think Malcolm Bruise is actually something that
I love Malcolm Bruce.
It's very cool, very
so
strong.
The idea with Malcolm Bruce is it's Jeskai. You've got Malcolm who creates treasures, and then Bruce can double up on your attack damage triggers with Malcolm. You can also run effects like Delany to make things even a little bit more wild and crazy.
Yeah, oh man, it's so cool.
And then like combat damage is a pretty real thing in that deck. It starts hitting pretty hard.
Yeah, you're not dipping too low in card quality. I think the reason we don't see a ton of it is people will either gravitate towards Elsha or they will just make the jump to 4 colors and play Blue Farm.
Yeah.
So I think that's a way to kind of play like a pretty solid mid-range plan, but with
I think Wrongside is pretty underplayed.
Yeah,
for the amount of people that know about it, and people I know, certain members of the community out there are very staunch advocates of their turbo Wrongside list, and I do applaud them for that, and much respect to you guys. But I think Wrongside
couldn't cast Necrodominance, not for me.
I think Wrongside is like very real, and it wins a lot of games, and if nothing else, like play it and try to learn it and see if there's maybe some lessons you can learn from it.
Grixis Pirates is pretty good, but that's a little bit more turbo. I think it's also like becoming a little bit mainstream.
Yeah.
Now, if I were to maybe scrape the bottom of the barrel, Polymorph Urza, Glarb,
or just regular. Like I have a mid-range Urza list. It's fine.
Yeah, Urza gets to do all sorts of fun stuff.
Yeah. I like Glarb. I think Glarb's good. It's a really good mid-range deck. It really can't be built turbo.
I think Marnius is a good example of. I mean, Tim does really, really, really well with it, but outside of Tim, it always does like kind of well
and does interesting stuff.
Yeah, you get to play a lot of fun cards. I think like low key, I think people play Tivit if they want a top 16, and people play Marnius if they want to talk to their friends about cards that they're putting into their list.
Elsha is pretty underrated. This commenter says. It's an old deck. I know people are doing just fine with it right now.
Kevin, we love you.
Yeah.
And we lose to you all the time. Kefka Court Mage, not underrated, not underrepresented.
It's represented.
Yeah.
Tacer, this guy comments on every fucking Reddit post.
Taim.
Hey guys, have you heard about Tacer?
Don't play Taim.
No, please don't play Taim.
I know that you played against someone on Spell Table and they kicked your ass. And you thought, oh, this is super duper cool. I'm going to proxy it, and there's going to be a harsh learning curve, but I'll get there. I'm so sorry. You're not going to.
I'm actually really disappointed about the responses in this thread. I feel like there's so many interesting decks out there. I know that I've brewed a ton, and we're about to talk about 3 of them that both you and I have brewed that are like viable but interesting decks. And the lack of response to this thread, it's just kind of like weird to me. Reddit is so the cEDH Reddit is so opinionated about so many things, about all of their unique decks and stuff, and then you see the same people commenting, well, you could try like Thrasios, Tevish, and like Tacer on every single thread, and then like no other suggestions. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, but
I see, like, if you look at our Mortal Kombat, God, there's so many decks there that like Tevesh, Kaidel, and Atali is a bit more of a turbo deck, but Atali did really well.
Oh yeah, Atali did. You know what? That's actually a really good point. I don't know if anyone suggested this here. I don't know why we didn't think about this earlier. Redditor who made this post, you need to go to EDH top 16, go to tournaments 60 plus, and then just start looking through seeing what's popping off.
Oops.
Right.
Commanders. So you do this. You hit commanders. Okay. Metagame breakdown. You do popularity. 6 months. We can do post ban.
Mm-hmm.
60 plus tournament. Minimum entries. 20 is fine.
Mm-hmm.
And then 60 plus player tournaments. So we see the normal stuff. T and K, TNT.
Yeah, I don't know how we
Kenan,
didn't think of this earlier.
Wrongside, Sisse, Rog Thras, Magda, Yuriko. Okay, and this is where we start to get into the weeds a little bit.
This is where maybe you don't see these a ton, but everyone knows one person who plays like Derevi.
Tivit's great. Clarp's great. Derevi's great. Gila's fine. We talked about Malcolm Vile, Kenrith, Atraxa.
Oh, here we go. Like all four of them in a row.
Marnius. Don't play Stella Lee.
Ooh, Obnix is a good one.
Don't
actually.
play Hashaton. Obnixless is super interesting.
Yeah.
Talion's a great deck we haven't seen a lot. Jay's been doing really well with it in the league.
Don't play Karkashima.
Jay's in top 4 of our league, and he's played Talion.
That is super duper cool.
Yeah. Play 3-color Kark, not 2-color.
Yeah. It's the Karkashima is a sexy deck. It seems really cool. You look at the primer, you're like, oh, this is gonna be so much fun. If you are just starting cEDH, I am so sorry. You are not ready for this list.
No.
Come back in a year and destroy everyone when you're really, really good at managing the stack.
And then you'll find that you want to play 3-color Kark because it's better.
Yeah. If someone has to explain to you how holding priority on your own spells work, maybe don't play Izzet.
Someone should explain that to Austin. I'm just kidding.
Austin, Master of Keys. Master of Keys is another really fun mid-range one.
Don't play Crick. Malcolm Kedis, we talked about that earlier in this episode. Yoshi Thras is a deck that's doing really well right now.
Tameshi's cool. Rocco's cool.
Dude, Tim's playing Rocco.
These are decks that I would kind of quantify in the like one-trick pony space. I don't want to reduce them or like say that like, oh, Tameshi only ever does one thing and it's disgusting.
Yeah.
But more like it's a play style that's going to kind of always gravitate you towards the same direction. So I think it's a great place to start, but you can't stay there for too long. If you are interested in playing tournament cEDH at a high level, which is, I try really hard to say it, but that's kind of like the assumption going to most of our conversations. If you are just planning on playing with your friends every Wednesday night and you want to get a little bit better, play whatever you want, and then just focus on the small things.
I would say let's also not forget that decks are not defined just by their commanders, but we can also change up what is in the 99. So you can play a good example is Turbo Wrongside versus Midrange Wrongside. You can change up the 99 and then you have a totally different deck.
Yeah, it's the no card in Magic is mandatory, like not even the commander, right? Because I've been in the position where like I keep trying to like tweak the deck and it doesn't exactly work, and then like, oh, I think it's because I'm trying to force this commander to do something that they're not supposed to do, and you just let yourself move from like a 2 to a 3 color pile, or sometimes you feel like, oh, I don't really need white, so I'll actually just go down to like Dimir instead of playing like Esper, or just I think like these are all good suggestions, but I think a lot of times in Commander, based off of a lot of our casual routes, we want to start on our own and start something new. But
no one follows the advice of just pick up a successful deck.
Yeah, just play something.
Learning the format is so incredibly important.
Yeah,
no one does it. Very few people do it. Let's put it that way.
It's so difficult. Yeah,
but you have to set out. If you want to learn cEDH, you're not learning the deck. You're learning the format. You're learning the nuances of the format. The deck, you want it to be as straightforward and as strong as possible, because if you can't understand that, and if you can't get through that and start to learn that, and you start learning something wrong, if you start on a weird deck that puts you in a weird spot, and then you have to like learn things specifically for that, and then it kind of reshapes your perception of the rest of the format, and that doesn't really help you get there.
Yeah, like you can play Tameshi after you figure out how to win using Necrobones. Yeah, like the deck is still going to be there, you know.
Or figure out what an Underworld Breach line is. Yeah. Like you can play Tyam after that.
Yeah. Like Itali will still be there after you've like countered your own Brain Freeze so that you can cast it from the graveyard to keep your combo going.
And you'd be surprised how quickly you pick up on the format when you're playing the format. God, I hate to use the word, but I'll use it correctly. But like when you're playing like you mean it, you learn things much faster.
It is going to truncate the learning period you have with these lists. And also, I think that like and I was just talking with someone else about this. I don't think that everyone should be like a blue farm pilot, or that like everyone needs to always be playing Kenan. I think that like everyone should have at least one, not like a toe, but like a foot in the water of like you're playing Rog Thras, you're playing blue farm Kenan, or you know someone who has it sleeved up, and at least like once or twice a week you're like, hey Logan, can I borrow your blue farm list? So that you are like the deadliest Atali player out
We
there
still do that.
all the time.
Like, we borrow each other's decks all the time, and not just you and me, but we, you know, I'll play Jason's farm list or whatever. Even if it's just casual and like not at tournaments, but like I got to keep fresh on these things. I got to remind myself, well, God, why is this the best deck in the format? Oh yeah, because it draws the most insane cards every single time.
When I'm sitting across from a blue farm player and they're like, oh, I've got nothing for this, bro.
And they have 30 in hand. You're like, yeah, right,
I
dude.
need the experiential knowledge of having been in that position to confidently pass priority.
Yep.
And I think, so...
Speaking of that, you want to see some bad decks?
Let's talk about some not good decks. Radius Study.
This is a you special.
Yeah. I just wanted to put Heartwood Storyteller into another list. So when this card got spoiled, I loved
can you
it.
just explain this to me a little bit? What's going on here?
So you essentially have artist talent in the command zone with Rydia, except instead of casting non-creature spells, it's all landfall based. So I originally came across this card in my Live, Laugh, Lands like Wandering Minstrel list, and this thing shreds through your library like crazy. So whenever I got this out, like let's say I got this out turn 1, I almost always had almost like 10 to 15 cards in my graveyard, like starting turn 3.
Is that just because of fetches or what?
The fetches, and then you like Life from the Loam goes bonkers because you can discard it and then dredge the draw trigger it creates.
That's kind of crazy.
So then if you have like 6, then you're able to like bring all these back. You're on Shifting Woodlands, you're on Breach. And then
all right, let me find the weird card. Okay, this is a Lumra card. The fucking turtle.
Yeah.
Hey, I like that card. Dryad's awesome.
If I cast Lumra and it brings 6 lands to the battlefield, I get to discard and draw 6 cards.
I'm going to change the tab if Lumra's in the 99. Where is it? Oh, God, it's here.
Oh, there it is.
Anyway.
There's the girl.
No, okay. I'll keep looking.
Yeah, it's the super duper fun. There's Runic Armasaur.
I think that card should start seeing play. I don't know where, but it's pretty good.
I think as long as Rog Thras is in the game,
And Yoshi Thras.
yeah. If you're in two color piles, I think Runic Armasaur is really good. I think as soon as you're in 3, if you're in 3 colors, you should probably be in blue. So
Yeah.
I think Gruul's a really good spot for it.
I'm not seeing anything like too crazy here. Like a lot of landfall stuff, Tiller Engine. Is it just 2-color Lumra basically?
Very much so. You get to run like,
But you can't like loop Lumra in this, right?
you still can.
Oh God.
Yeah.
With lands?
With lands? You can't do food chain stuff is about the only thing you can't do.
Okay.
Did
you play this at all or tested it at all yet?
No, I actually am planning on testing this as aggressively as I can in our league in the next 2 days.
I see.
Because I am very confident with how I've brewed it. We'll see if it actually like bears fruit in reality.
Bears fruit?
Bears fruit. But yeah, I mean, it's the...
Oh, you put artist talent in too. Are there enough non-creature stuff to trigger it?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
it's like randomly like super duper stormy. And then you also get Need for Speed, which is incredible. That's a Corvold card. I learned that from Kyle.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And so it's like essentially you're just trying to set up like a breach line as quickly as you can.
What are the breach lines in this? How do you... Okay, let's put it this way. How does Rydia convert a winning board state into a win? What do you use?
Rydia fills up your graveyard super fast so that when you cast breach, you are essentially just being able to play with like half your library. So
you
then,
can't like breach lands though.
No, but you've got like a lot of like Aftermath Analyst, like Lumra stuff.
Okay.
And so then you just like, you either use tutors like Gamble, Reckless Handling, Worldly Tutor, all these things to like kind of get stuff. And then once you...
What's the win con? Like what? So once you have breach, how do you close it out?
Sunscorched Desert, Wheel of Fortune, I think are the big ones.
Well, how do you Wheel of Fortune?
You just draw everyone out, and then you're on endurance, so you just don't wheel yourself out.
But how do you prevent them from removing your breach or countering your spells or whatever? You're in Dosen?
I don't think I'm on Dosen or Defense Grid.
I feel like you should be.
I think my plan with this was just to like be better than my opponents and go like ooga booga booga if they ever tried to besiege me.
In these colors, you need something. I think those somethings are Defense Grid and Dosen.
Yeah, I know I was on.
You're gonna get hit by a besiege you fast.
I think my plan was to just be playing a dumber deck than my opponents and hope that avoided interaction. No, I'll put Do I want both, or do you think just one is fine? Because
I think both.
You think both? I'll find room for both.
I think both. I mean, we'll talk about it in a minute. But
yeah, I think Vexing Bauble, and then also like just knowing from Lumra that like
God, I fucking hate Vexing Bauble. I love the card, but I just don't like seeing it in other people's decks.
I think I may have over relied on the difficulty of interacting with land-based loops when doing this.
But breach is, that's what I'm saying. If you're going for a breach line, then you're off the land plan.
Mm-hmm.
The land plan seems like it gets you to where you need to be.
Oh no, inverse.
Wow. You just told me that land fill your yard.
Just through Rydia, everything else brings stuff back from the graveyard. So like there's like you have like Shifting Woodlands, 6 Blossoming Tortoise.
Sure.
All of these things get things like back from the graveyard. So Rydia just puts things there, and Underworld Breach is just another way to get stuff back from the graveyard.
Okay, but you got to win the game, right?
Yeah.
So do you make infinite mana in Finale, or do you, what? Like
you can also do that. Yeah.
How do you make infinite mana?
Land loops.
Oh God.
It's on Amulet of Vigor. You can do anything with
I think you need to go back to the kitchen with this one. The card is really cool though.
No, I think this is a great example of I don't know if you've ever ended up in this space. I had a very specific vision for this list like 2 weeks ago, and then I brewed like 5 lists in between now and then, because I think we both just try to like always be brewing to kind of keep ourselves fresh. And so I'm now realizing over the course of this that I spent too much time sleeving up Vivv today. And so I think I need to re-examine my own list a little.
I feel like you're going to do a lot of powerful things and then not be able to close it out.
Yeah.
And I don't want you to have that experience, because that experience sucks.
That does. That's a very like gruel experience.
Because you're just like, oh, I did this really awesome. Like, yeah, I mean, Atalia runs in the same thing sometimes. You're like, wow, I cast Atalia on turn 1, and then you rip like 3 box diamonds and like a console.
Look at all these triggers I'm generating, and then your opponents with counter spells are like, let me know if anything important happens, and I'm like, don't worry guys, it'll be a bit.
So anyway, I'm interested to see how this deck develops. I think there is something there.
Yeah. No, I do like your. I think you're very right about the Dosen and the Defense Grid. And then I think it would definitely behoove me to spend some time asking the question, how do I win?
Well,
I knew at one point, but I don't know anymore.
Think of the reaction people have when you play Dosen. You play Dosen, they know the door is closing on their foot, right? Like the door is being slammed.
Yeah.
And they're like, if we don't have anything, we just lose right now.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes they'll scoop at the sight of you playing Dosen.
Yeah.
Dosen's resolved. Okay, I'm giving it up here.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay. But
I'm tapped out, bro.
But that invoked response is a result of what happens after most of the time.
Yeah.
Right? Because they know that you're not playing that card unless you are able to win right then.
Yeah.
So like, why wouldn't you play that card in this?
Yeah. I like that. That's good.
Because if you do, and then you resolve it, you're like, okay, now here's my win. Mm-hmm. And you could have any number of things that, then you can do your Wheel of Fortune loops, and they're like, this is so stupid. And you're like, yeah, but I have Docen.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm like, I can't believe this is winning. I'm like, yeah, me either. No, that's a, yeah. The first thing I do when I go home, well, first I'm going to kiss my cat on my forehead like a sane human being.
On your forehead.
I'm going to hold him up and go, but yeah, then I'm going to find a slot for him. Yeah,
Okay.
that's a good idea. That's good advice.
All right. Moving on. This is not the one I want to talk about. Actually, this is fine. We'll talk about this
Another
one first.
2-color pile. Kodama Thras.
So this deck is interesting. Most people don't use commanders in a way that they overlap colors.
Yeah.
In this one, it makes sense to me.
Yeah.
And here's why. So Kodama is a notorious combo piece. It is a hyper value engine, often so much so that it just becomes, oops, I comboed.
Yeah.
And then Thrasios is a really, really good combo outlet for infinite mana.
The amount of times in a CDH game I've heard, oh, I'll just pump infinite mana into Thrasios, and then I don't know. I'll get that. I do really need me to play it out. Yeah.
Yeah. So this deck is really strange, mostly because it feels like the Simic Rogthras a little bit, with a heavy focus on land strategies. So I know we just talked about Rydia and how you're really focused onto land-based things with that. I have taken my own advice and included Docen in this list.
Yeah.
But the deck is really cool, and I've won, I think, almost exactly half of the games I've played on it so far. I played 10 games, and I'm 99% sure that I've won 5.
Dude, let's start scrolling. Show me what you're working with.
But there's really not a whole lot here that's kind of out of the...
I like the Biomancer's familiar.
Okay, so like we have the Thrasios grind plan. When it comes down to it, we can just start spinning Thrasios to see if we can get more lands or more creatures or more just spells to do our thing.
You got Mana, Fairy Mastermind.
Fairy Mastermind and Endurance. Those two are right next to each other. We have another outlet with Mastermind. Another way to win the game. We can draw our opponents out and then repeatedly Endurance ourselves to not deck ourselves. And then Flash Enablers with High FFA Trickster. Landfall stuff with Lotus Cobra and Nissa.
Moloku, Nissa are like the first...
Yeah.
But also like...
This is a Lotus Cobra that doesn't die to Bowmasters, basically.
Yeah, Nissa's... if you're doing anything landfall, Nissa rules. And then Moloku is just so good in Kodama stuff.
So Moloku and Kodama have a unique interaction. Basically, Kodama works when you put a permanent into play from anything. You get a Kodama trigger if he's on the battlefield. And the Kodama trigger looks at the CMC of the permanent that you're putting into play. And you can put a permanent with CMC equal or less from your hand directly onto the battlefield with the trigger. So that spell is not cast. And it could be anything from, if you're playing an Arcane Signet, it could be a counterbalance you're putting into play.
Yeah.
If you're playing a Rhystic Study and you trigger Kodama, you could just slide a Docen in. Like it could be the obscurity is kind of the neat part of it, but it also makes Kodama really scary.
I love Kodama, yeah. And then I think like, do you just like, oh, I have the mana, I have Kodama, or do you like put Kodama out when you're ready to start some shit?
That's the really cool thing about this deck. In other Kodama lists that you and I have both played, sometimes we just kind of play Kodama because we have the mana and it's not really that defined. Whereas Kodama has a very clear role in this deck. We're trying to basically grind with Thrasios until we have achieved critical mass and we can play Kodama and use it as a combo piece.
That's awesome.
Whether that's at flash speed or sorcery speed behind a Docen or defense grid or whatever, that is our way to get there and win.
That's awesome. Yeah, Kodama Ish, I had a really difficult time grinding without the aid of like cards in the 99. So the fact that you can just start with Thrasios, I think this is a very streamlined list so far. It's very cool to see.
Moloku, we talked about it a little bit. It has a neat interaction with Kodama. I know it sounds like a lot. You have 6 mana and 5 mana, but once you have that, and it depends on which lands you have potential to generate infinite mana, because when you return a land to your hand with Moloku, you create a 1/1 illusion, and that triggers Kodama. You put the land back down. If you have a landfall trigger like Nissa or Lotus Cobra, you can generate infinite mana doing this, because you use that land that untaps to pay for the Moloku ability. Continue to create infinite 1/1s, but your landfall triggers see that land entering over and over again, make you mana. And then you have that inherent outlet in the command zone.
Heck
so
yeah.
no matter how many times Thrasios dies, you just play him again. And then, so that's a pretty neat combo. It also wins with Sun Scorched Desert.
Yeah.
With you can go mana neutral on that.
You take a damage. I can take a damage, but I don't want to.
So basically, you tap the Sun Scorch to pay for the Moloku ability. You put it back into play on ETB. It deals 1 damage to target player.
Heck yeah.
It's pretty cool. And then Scoot Swarm and like these little token creators. Like what's the other 2 mana one? I always forget the name of. Springheart Nantuko.
Yeah.
If you have a bounce land, you can have infinite landfall triggers with Scoot Swarm or Springheart. The land bounces itself to its hand to your hand, even though it's tapped. You create the token. Kodama sees the token enter. You put the land back down. You rinse, repeat. You make infinite tokens. And then you can use something like, I don't know, Earthcraft to use all those tokens to tap for mana, or
Guys,
you just
Cradle for how much?
or you just tap Cradle. And then we have like lots of land tutors like Sowing, Microspawn, Crop Rot. Spellseeker helps you get your Crop Rot or your Neoform and stuff like that. Spellskite helps us protect. And then Tyler's Provision is another way to make infinite mana. With Landfall, you make treasures.
Let's do the bounce land thing.
Yeah.
Bounce.
The other cool thing about Kodama, and you know this, is that it kind of inherently gives some of your stuff flash speed.
Oh, yeah.
If you can get a permanent into play at flash speed, you're like, ooh, I can angle like a land here.
Yeah,
and like my lands do some cool stuff.
The Wrongside player is like, look, I'll let this endurance resolve just as long as it targets me. And the other player is like, dude, this endurance is never going to resolve.
Yeah, endurance is like a win con in Kodama. Yeah. It's kind of crazy.
Oh, it's so nice.
The 5 sorceries I have are all to the battlefield tutors: Eldritch, Finale, Green Suns, Nature's Rhythm, and Neoform.
I love to the battlefield tutors so much.
Archdruid's Charm feels really good because it's another way to get a land. Chord's another to the battlefield tutor. Crop Rot. I'm running a really, really slim interaction package because the deck feels actually quite fast.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to interact with, so I don't really need a whole lot of stuff. We have Fierce and Flare for Thrasios.
I like that you're on Flare.
Floodmaw bounces Dranis and stuff we don't like, and LQR protects. Mana Drain helps us get Kodama faster. Pact is there to force draws. I'm just kidding.
Veil is so nice.
Veil's good. Whirly Tutor's good.
I always hate seeing those on the stack. Love to see Amulet of Vigor.
Amulet, I love this card.
Dude, it's so good.
I thought about, like, when I was building the deck in my head, I was like, I don't think I need Amulet. And then I played it. I had an Amulet and Burgeoning and a cost reducer for Thrasios. And so someone would play a land, and then I'd go, cool, Burgeoning trigger, play my bounce land. I play the Simic Growth Chamber. It enters, it untaps, I tap it, and then bounce it back to hand. And everyone's like, every time we play a land, he gets a free Thrasios spin. I don't think we can play lands anymore. And I'm like, okay, well, if you guys don't want to play lands, that's fine.
Every day we get closer to Amulet Titan in a format where the Titan is banned, and I love it.
D-Grid, Expedition map, because we can get off of Urza Saga. Imposter Mech just feels pretty solid.
I love Imposter Mech.
Lots of mana ramp, no stacks, nothing like that. Vexing Bauble is another.
What's your favorite card these days?
Defense Grid Light. We can get it off of Urza Saga.
Yeah.
Oh, then Downpour, dude.
Amphibian Downpour fucks in Kodama.
Why is it so good?
Because they'll create tokens. Tokens are usually 0 CMC, but Amphibian Downpour is 3 CMC,
and they're copies of Amphibian Downpour.
So if you get 4 copies of Amphibian Downpour, you can put in your Rhystic Study, your Copy Enchantment, your Mirror Maid,
because
and
you control all the tokens, even though they're attached.
Even though they're targeting other stuff.
To other stuff.
It's so good.
Yes.
It feels incredible.
Burgeoning, Carpet of Flowers, lots of just like copy effects. We kind of have like the Copy Enchantment, Mirror Maid, all that stuff.
Yeah, well, because you're gonna make so much mana. If you're not able to, like, let's say there's a Drannith out, so you can't filter the mana through him. You need other ways to there's another activated ability reducer. Love Training Grounds.
Oh yeah, Training Grounds and Biomancers. It just makes, like, we're on 2 color, it makes sense to run both. In 3 color, it's kind of harder to find the slot to.
It also just makes it safer to kind of keep what players would refer to as like the ramp to nowhere. because instead of like, oh, my game plan is 1 Thrasios activation, my game plan is 4 Thrasios activations, which is a way better game plan.
Right. And then high density of lands. We're on 32 lands. So 2 bounce lands. One's Arid Archway. The other one is down here somewhere.
Simic Growth Chamber, probably.
Yep. The green-blue one.
Heck yeah.
Field of the Dead is another
Field
token
of the Dead,
creator.
Echoing Deeps. Dude, we're going to make a Loomer player out of you yet.
Nah, Loomer doesn't go in this list, I don't think. Maybe we could put it in there.
Manamo's fun.
Aboro, dude.
There. Heck yeah.
This card is so crazy.
It's so cool.
You just put it onto the field and everyone's like, oh, we have a land. Yeah. And then 1 mana, all of a sudden it's like back in your hand. Or like,
Yeah, and if you have like...
if you have the token creator, you create a token at instant speed.
Yeah.
And then you're like, in response to that, I'm going to put Aboro back into my hand.
Yeah.
And someone's like, and then they tried to kill like Kodama in response. I just activated Aboro again.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, what do we do now?
Dude, it's so nice. It is the public service announcement. Kodama cannot be allowed to live.
Yeah.
But if he does, you are in for the most interesting loss of your life.
And then I mean, there's just not a whole lot here that's like that interesting, to be honest.
Yeah.
But
land stuff just feels super duper fun. And then
it's fun and it's hard to interact with.
It's super hard to interact with, and I love the flexibility to the battlefield tutors. Because if someone shows you a counter spell, you're like, okay, I'll just get Delight Halfling.
Last thing I want to say about this deck, one, I have been enjoying it. It is very much my play style. I'm a big Kodama truther. The other thing is the fail state is really, really good. If your Kodama just dies, you look down at your field, you have like 15 lands. You're about to untap. You have Thrasios on the field. Yeah. You're like, okay, like I failed this time. Let me just try again.
This list can't really get blown out.
It's really hard. It's really hard to get blown out.
Yeah, like your win can definitely be stopped, but you're not going to end up with like, you're not like stone raining or like Bajuka bogging or something.
You're not deconning most of your library away.
Yeah.
You know?
You're just like, oh, dang, now I only have 20 lands and 40 tokens. Fuck.
What am I going to do with that?
No.
Yeah. So anyway, really fun deck. And then the other deck
you were
I want to
talking
talk
about this one. Going back to the visual grid. I don't know what the difference between visual grid and visual
Spoiler
grid
is like full card.
Is it? Okay.
So this Modern Horizons precon ass commander. What do you know about it?
I know that like Satya was a victim of being a part of a really, really powerful set. Aside from that, they do stuff with energy, but I think primarily it just kind of lets you double up on ETB stuff essentially.
Satya came out at a very interesting time in which it saw a bit of play before Dockside was banned. Because you could play Dockside, attack with Satya, make another Dockside, and then you go, holy shit, wow, I think I can win with 40 mana.
God, I miss Dockside.
I know. I do too.
There's no way he's coming back, but I miss him still.
This is a deck that's pretty much Jeskai good stuff.
Nice.
It's a little bit more creature heavy than most Jeskai decks. Like, it's a lot more creature heavy than Elsha. But
Jeskai's like
we won't talk about
as
Elsha.
little creatures as possible.
But we get to run really cool creatures, and sometimes we'll keep them around for extra. So the idea with Satya is, you play mid-range. You don't need to play Satya ever if you don't want to. It's not a combo piece. It's just a it kind of digs you out of holes.
I love decks that don't make you play the commander.
Yeah, I like the commander, but
it's cool.
You don't have to play.
I mean, it synergizes well, but like, I really like the flexibility of like, am I going to play my commander? Not even I know.
Yeah, the stat line is interesting. It's 1 in Jeskai, 4 mana total. Menace and haste. It's a 3/5. And it says when it attacks, create a tapped and attacking token of a copy of up to 1 target non-token creature you control.
Gotcha.
You get 2 energy, and at the beginning of the end step, sacrifice that creature unless you pay the energy cost equal to its mana cost. So you can bank up energy and start paying for more expensive things if you want, or you can just start creating copies of like Esper Sentinels, and you only pay 1 energy, and you have more Esper Sentinels.
Nice.
And then the tapped and attacking thing is kind of neat because you don't have to attack the same player.
Oh heck yeah! It's got the like Nigila thing going on.
So you can like send the Esper Sentinel at the Wrongside player who has no blockers.
You get a token attacking you, and you get a token attacking you.
Yeah.
And you countered my spell, so you get 2.
But the most important thing is you can choose to not send them to their death.
Oh.
So that's the thing that I found most interesting with that is like, if I want to keep that Esper Sentinel around, I can send it at somebody else who's not going to block and kill it.
Oh, nice.
So, my favorite card, Ether Channeler, is in the deck.
Heck yeah.
Creating copies of this card is so annoying because you can just start bouncing anything for free.
It's so nice. You're paying, nothing to draw a card,
or you're paying nothing to bounce over 6 study.
It goes crazy with
Kitten.
Yeah. Also in Jeskai, there's so many things that you want to return back to your hand.
Delny unfortunately doesn't trigger with the commander, but it triggers with everything else in the deck. DRC is great. You have multiple DRCs, multiple fairy masterminds. They're not legendary. Flush Dupe is just good enough. You can create some interesting stuff. Imp Recruiter is a card we haven't seen in a really long time.
Yeah.
Being able to tutor for those, like pretty much any creature in this deck, is really cool. You can get a Grand Abolisher or just every turn you're Imp Recruitering for something.
I love that Satya is like weirdly a Panharmonicon.
Yeah.
With the way you've built this, which I think is really, really cool.
But I'm also trying to be cognizant of not running cards that are like that bad. Because like Imp Recruiter is good because I can get Facebreaker that turns into more mana. If I make a copy of Facebreaker, then I have double Facebreaker. I'm making like 6 treasures a turn, and that's a lot.
Like getting 2 Pinnacle Monks isn't like a huffing copium strategy.
No,
that's like I'm sitting across from the table and thinking like, God, I wish that were me.
Like doubling up your Ranger Captains is sick.
That's pretty good.
Doubling up on Spellseeker is pretty solid.
Yeah, it lets you skip Ephemerate basically.
Witch Enchanter.
Oh heck yeah.
It's just a land, but sometimes you can destroy Chrome Moxes and Ristic Studies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then it's just fairly standard Jeskai from there down.
Yeah, you're right. I think your creature package is where you have the most like, and even then like none of them are too crazy.
Yeah.
This is fun. I think this is a great example of
like literally have not seen a weird card since the creature package.
Like you're playing the shell instead of the commander.
And I'm also just playing the copy Enchantment Mirror Maid, copy artifact, Remora, Study, Tithe, Trouble in Pairs, like very heavy mid range.
Ooh, I think 27 lands is a really good spot for a list.
24, not including MDFCs. So you have
I love MDFCs.
Pinnacle Monk, I think Sync, and Witch Enchanter.
Dude, this is really cool. I like this list a lot. I can see why you have fun playing it.
But also, like, it just feels good because they're like, everyone's like, what does your commander do? I'm like, nothing. It's not a combo piece. It just digs me out of holes if I fall into...
Your 2 favorite moves in Magic are showing people your hand and telling people that your commander does nothing. I love just sitting down at Janet Grounds next to you and hearing you tell people it doesn't do anything. This doesn't do anything. It's
people have started being like, I don't want to see your hand because like I know you're gonna use this politically. I'm like,
but it's so fun.
But my hand's so bad.
I want to show you. Look at my hand.
Yeah.
But no, I think it's like like it's a super strong shell, and I think it's also like it's unique in the way that like you couldn't just like put Elsha in the command zone instead of this. You couldn't put Narset in the command zone instead of this. So it does, in a sense, kind of have to be this commander. But also, if you're playing in a game, you literally never need to cast the commander because instead of getting a second Esper Sentinel, why don't I just play Ristic Study instead, right?
Yeah.
Like you have other ways of like utilizing your mana or progressing your board state.
It has the full like, oh, I just cast Spellseeker. Let me grab Ephemerate. Then let me Ephemerate my Spellseeker or grab Enlighten. Like you just have the whole line, right? Or Final Fortune and then, all that stuff. It has the whole Spellseeker line. It's got Breach. It's got Fairy Mastermind, Tithe. You can double up on your Tithe and then win through that.
This is a really cool list. Yeah,
I think there's a really good list for beginners actually. It's very simple, very flexible. It doesn't really have a bad matchup.
Yeah. You don't get especially hosed by anything. I could see this being problematic to beginners in the same way that like Blue Farm is. If you're gonna miss triggers, like nobody's business if you're new.
Yeah.
But also like you gotta learn at some point.
The flexibility might be a little bit of a hindrance too, because some of the things that you'd tutor for, like with a Imperial Recruiter, for example, Does the average person know what to tutor for on a turn 2 imp recruiter? Probably not.
Yeah, and also like if someone's like, if you have Aether Channel or 5 open mana, 6 cards in hand, and one of them's a gamble, like they're gonna burn out every brain cell they have trying to think of like what to gamble for in that situation. But also like I could see like this very much seems like a list that like anyone who's been in cEDH for like I would say like 4 or 5 months could pick it up and do relatively well. It definitely seems like the type of like what I would consider like what I would consider like a gas station deck where
What does that mean?
you go, you get what you want, and then you leave.
Is it a quick trip?
Yeah. Like I don't think someone's gonna like main the Aetherflux Genius. You know, I don't think this is a list that you play for like 7-8 months. But I think that this is a great example.
Every person I've handed this deck to, they're like, wow, this deck's really fun.
It is really fun. It looks, I say that not having played it, it looks really fun.
Yeah, sure. Like Jax was playing it at Crombat. And
oh heck,
he was a few drinks in, but he was just like, dude, this deck is gas. It was like, it's so fun.
I believe you mean this deck is energy. Sorry.
Yeah. But
I think
I see what you mean. Like there's not a whole. Why am I on 101 cards? What the hell happened there?
Whoa, hang on. You said Jax played this list at Crombat?
I think I might have dragged something on accident. It's just one of those decks that's like, it's good. It's probably going to stay in my bag.
Yeah.
It's probably going to stay together. And when someone wants to play something, I'm like, here, try this.
Yeah. It's the like, I think this is a great example of like, if someone's like, hey, are you in the mood for like slushies and a taquito? The answer is like always yes. You know, and, you know, if you're like, here, why don't you make like 3 Esper Sentinels? I'll be like, well, if you insist.
And this won't give you diarrhea later. Yeah. So it's kind of better than slushies and taquitos.
Like, I think this is a great example of, I don't think this like busts the meta wide open. I don't think that like Blue Farm is shitting its pants, but also like if someone just wants to like pick up a deck to play something and have fun that, you know, is a little bit of like a fresh perspective, I think this would be a great thing to just play and have some fun.
Little anecdote about that. Not last Saturday, the Saturday before, I went 1-0-2 at our locals at level 7 with this deck. I very handily won round 1. I made double Facebreaker, double Esper Sentinel with a Delny. So I had mana and card draw. So every time they were casting a spell, I was drawing 4 cards.
I don't like that. I don't like that at all.
But that was pretty fun. And then games 2 and 3, had I untapped, I would have won. Every cEDH player says that, but
this time is real.
We all drew because I was like, you know, you can't in good conscience let me untap, so you either put something on the stack right now or I just win.
Oh, yeah. I love when you're in a position to make that argument where someone is like in the middle of pushing and they're like, you know, if someone has any interaction, you know, I'll draw. You know, someone shows a lot of, or they'll say like, I'm not quite sure if I'm supposed to keep pushing. I feel like I'm about to give the win to the next player, and then I'm like, I 100% have win in hand. If you don't draw immediately, you lose. That's a really fun place to be. So like, it feels like a win, anyways.
The floor on this deck was not bad. So yeah, if you want to try it, the list will be in the comments. And
yeah.
Yep, those are our interesting mid-range choices. For the week.
If you go to EG, you may see any one of them.
Yep.
And I think we have one.
No, this was the tab I opened for metagame breakdown. And notice none of these are on there, but we're still winning with them.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, thank you guys for watching. Thanks for hanging out with us. Thank you again for everyone who came out and helped make Mortal Kombat a thing.
Absolutely. We're still... I think I'm recovered. I think I'm back to normal-ish.
I immediately went on a business trip directly afterwards. So I've been home for like 48 hours.
I bet you slept well in that hotel.
I was like starfishing. But thank you to everyone who helped make it happen. Thank you for everyone who attended. Thank you for all the people who had positive feedback. Thank you for all the people who had things that they would like to see us change or do better. I was really grateful we got to interview Hire when we were at Fishbowl. And you can even watch his interview with Max P on the Winning In. And, you know, if he picks any hill to die on, it is the value of focusing on player experience. player experience. So we are very, very grateful for people who have come to us and said, oh, we really, really like this, or we really haven't like that. And so
we'll bring our own air conditioner repairman next time.
Yeah. Or we'll just like set all the people who politic really hard at like one end so they just blow their air all the way.
We'll make them face the same direction, blow all the hot air one direction.
But yeah, it was just so much fun to be there. And I know we say this a lot, but like there is a world where it's just like me and you in a Dave & Buster's and like no one else.
Yeah.
Like, where did everybody go? And so the fact that people showed up in and of itself is like amazing to me, much less that, you know, we got to see so many cool decks, so many fun people show up. Obviously the Freedom Waffle pictures were always so fun to see.
And I think there's also a world where we don't have nearly 2,000 subscribers 4 months into this endeavor.
That's crazy to me.
Yeah. So thank you guys for watching and participating and hanging out with us in the league and on Discord. And it's just been such an amazing experience and a wild ride for sure.
Yeah.
And then lastly, we do want to mention Pool Priority is coming up again soon. That's July 12th in Columbia, Tennessee.
Yeah,
so
if you got $50, go buy a Judge Foil Cradle.
Or try to do that.
Yeah, or, you know, if anything, just like lock that spot in for the Invitational.
For sure.
You know, don't just go to Tennessee, also go to Pittsburgh. Yeah.
Yep. All right. Well, that's about it. Anything else?
I think that's it for me.
Cool.
Bye, guys.
Bye. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.